Is there any regret, first of all? Do you have in changing any of the organization and you thought that probably I could have stuck around longer?
I don't have a regret because if I wouldn't have changed my organization, I wouldn't have been here in the role of entrepreneurship. If you want to start something of your own, take as many risks as possible.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast, and join us in welcoming Jessica Dawda, a 2019 SPJMR alumnus. Currently, she's the Chief Savings Officer at Ziwy app, and she's driving innovation and strategy over there. As the founder of Mind Genie, she is championing accessible mental health solutions, revolutionizing the way we approach anxiety and panic attacks with data-backed tools. So, first of all, great to have you here, Jessica, and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Arnav. I'm happy to be on the podcast.
So, just starting things off, Jessica, you started a journey with Uber, Amazon, Loconav, and I believe the experiences must have been both thrilling and challenging over there. So, in retrospect, if you want to just look at those experiences, how would you compare it between these three companies?
Just to sum it up, I was with Uber for 2 years, then with Amazon for 5 months, and with Loconav for 1 year. So I think the time slot says a lot. But yeah, my experience at Uber did a lot of challenging projects, high ownership role, really good work. For 2 years, I was always on my toes. Then I moved on to Amazon. The role was equally challenging. It was more towards sale as compared to what I was doing in Uber, which was more of operations, strategy, and a P&L role. There were very small bits and pieces of work that were given. That was something which I'll say was different from what I was doing in Uber, wherein I was owning up an entire, let's say, a state, and then moving on to Amazon, owning up a small agency, that to only the sales bit of it. Moving on to Loconav, wherein my experience is that of 1 year. Loconav, I joined in as a senior strategy manager taking care of their entire Africa business. The difference with Loconav was it was an Indian company and a very small startup. So the roles kept on changing again and again. So a lot of like one day I'm working on this particular project, next day I'm doing another project, third day I'm doing something else. Things are very spontaneous. You just need to be ready that, okay, you've spent a lot of time here, shift, do something new. So that's how my experience across these three organizations has been different.
Got it. And as you mentioned, like in these switches, right, you didn't spend a lot of time in each of the companies. I think majority of the time you spent in Uber, that was more than 2 years.
Yes.
So what basically drove your decision? I just want to understand your mindset when you were switching from one company to the next, right, and making such frequent switches. So what was the trigger point and how did you see your career trajectory going forward?
Uber, 2 years, I had done everything. I had done a bit of product, I had done a bit of operations. So over and all, I had done a lot of things. Now, obviously, I wanted more money. And that was the only reason which kind of made me switch from Uber to Amazon. I got a good package, I switched. In the hindsight, it was not a very good decision for me because I moved into a role of business development manager. So something which I had never done. Taking this decision was not in my favor. Within 5-6 months, I got bored. I wanted something more. I wanted something exciting. Money was no more exciting, to be very honest. So the obvious choice was to, get into a new startup, early age startup, which can give me ownership, which can give me money, which can give me everything basically. And that's how I landed up in Loconav. Now, switching out of Loconav was not my decision. Obviously, it was a very early startup in a risky situation. They could not get another level of funding and they had to kind of compromise there. So obviously, again, my role would have become redundant. So eventually, I had to leave. So I left in a year. So that's how been my trajectory.
And what I get from that is the extreme clarity which you have in a short span of time. So, for example, there are some people whom I have talked to, and even after 3 to 4 months, right, they just think that okay, we are just being exposed to one part of the company right now, and let's see how it pans out in the next year, and let's have a comprehensive evaluation, right? But what I see from your answer standing out is that in 5 months you knew, okay, this role is not particularly for me, or I am looking for something else, right? So how does one get that clarity in terms of the alignment?
I would say it's better to be a little patient. On the contrary to your question, I'm not answering your question, but I am telling you that it's better to be patient, which I wasn't. It's
Okay.
okay to sit through a dull period. It's okay to figure out where do you fit. Figuring out that you do not suit well for this role, 6 months should be good enough. That's when you should understand how you're progressing. Get early feedback from your peers, from your managers on how you're performing. Get feedback from your clients. Understand how you're moving. Are you growing or you're not? If you're not growing, you know that there are either of the two problems. Either the organization is not facilitating your growing, or your inner personality is not helping you out. That you're doing something off. Now you have an option. You can either change your role or change an organization.
Right.
I would say be patient and change your role. Don't change organization that frenetically as I did.
Is there any regret, first of all? Do you have in changing any of the organization and you thought that probably I could have stuck around longer? And if so, why?
I don't have a regret because
Okay.
if I wouldn't have changed my organization, I wouldn't have been here in the role of entrepreneurship. Because I
Got
changed
it.
so many organizations, I saw too many things. I saw too many cultures. I saw too many markets. I saw too many different types of products, different kinds of role across different organizations. Worked with multiple people. So that helped me in becoming a person who's well fit into an entrepreneurship world.
Yeah.
But let's say if you do not want to get into this side of world, and if you want to be in corporate, you want to be in that kind of a person who's growing in a particular journey in the same corporate culture, stay with one organization for a longer time. Switching organization means for a corporate growth and journey, it's not good.
Makes
But yes, if you want to become an entrepreneur, please do all these risks. Please do take all these risks. They pay off. They do pay off.
Got it. It's all about taking the risks in entrepreneurship, right? And
Yes.
taking risks and failing faster.
I was failing already. I was failing already in multiple organizations.
I think that also tells us about the mental strongness, right, of a person. That just not letting your guard down after one or two failures, but just trying until you reach that success and still working towards that. So I think that's a great answer for the segue to our next part. Also, now, just as a part segue to the next thing, which I would give you some situations, right? And just tell me that in these stressful situations, what should be the action, right, if someone faces this? So, for example, if a manager has asked you to work on weekends and weekend is protected in a company, but still he or she has asked you to do that, how will you respond?
As an employee, I used to work on weekends. Let me be very clear. Yes, working on weekends is not wrong. See, I'm not saying that you should have weekends all to yourself. All I'm saying is when you're working, work. But when you're not working, don't work. So we have this tendency that even during weekends when we are out for a dinner, work is there in our head. So if that's the case, you're not even enjoying, then better go home and start working. When a manager comes back and tell you work on the weekends, it's okay, work. But give a timeline to yourself that I'm going to work for next 3 hours. Then after that 3 hours, I'm not going to think about my work. If you're able to differentiate both of these things, then that's the key. It's not about weekends or weekdays.
I think the insight over here is focused work. That spend a few hours,
Focused work.
get that work completed, and then demarcate your professional and personal lives.
Yes.
Got it. Now, next situation. You have just missed a very important deadline. You are an employee who works really well, very productive, and now you have a lot of expectations from yourself as well. You have not missed any deadline in the past, but this is the first time this has happened. And now you're really stressed because you don't expect this from yourself and neither the manager does from you. So, how will you respond to this situation?
First of all, always tell yourself you are a human, you're bound to make mistakes. So to accept that fact that you can make mistakes will change your life. Baki to you will get stressed. I'll be very honest and I'll be very practical. Deadline miss hua to manager bhi chillaega. You will also yell at yourself. You will do all of those things. Don't linger around that. The problem is people start thinking, overthinking. The time that you could have just spent on completing that work, you're going to overthink. You're anyways delaying your work further. You just take it a bit lightly and just let it go and start working. That's fine.
Overthinking is definitely a problem. And Jessica, while I was going through your experience as well, I saw that for the last 3 or 4 months, you are working on a Ziwy app, right? And the role seemed very interesting to me as well. Can you just describe about what you're doing over there and what your role entails?
So, as a bootstrapped startup founder, you learn to save money everywhere you go. The thing is always instilled in me that I never go to a place for a dinner if there is no offer or coupon code with me. I will not. limit that I would have, set for myself, that for a movie I'll not spend more than 250. Now, if the movie is at 400, it's my responsibility to figure out how do I get it to 250 and still go and watch it. So I used to do this more often. So slowly and steadily, I became like a go-to person for a lot of people who used to come back and tell me, Jessica, I want to buy this product. How do I get it at cheaper price? Or let's say I want to go and dine in at a particular place. How do I do it for a cheaper price? And I used to sit and I used to figure out that, okay, you need this credit card, you need this coupon. Here is a combination. Go use it and buy it. So then I realized, oh, I'm passionate about it. So I started a community. I started an Instagram channel about it, which is named by Ziwy, wherein basically every day you find saving hacks. It can be about a product, it can be about a restaurant, it can be about an experience or anything. But that's how I'm a chief savings officer at Ziwy.
So, Jessica, just to finish things off, first of all, your career trajectory has been a mix of diverse experiences, and I'm sure we have learned a lot from it. But what are the key challenges and learnings, right, through your failures which you have experienced, which you would like to share with the listeners, so at least they don't repeat it or probably have some insights in mind when they start their journey?
Always have one thing in your mind. Do you want to stay with the corporate ladder or do you want to start something of your own? If you want to start something of your own, take as many risks as possible, because that will help you build your capability for becoming an entrepreneur. But if you want to be in a stable job, in a corporate job throughout your life, I will recommend be patient. Be patient in the job that you are. It's okay, there will be high time, there will be low time, there will be time wherein you will have no work. I know it's frustrating, but stay calm, stay cool with it, enjoy that time. Rather think about it, oh, free time mil gaya, I'll do something for myself. I'm not saying don't switch, but don't do such haphazard switches also in 5 6 months. Spend at least 2 to 3 years in a particular company, then switch. That's my 2 cents in terms of challenges and then.
Awesome, awesome. That's really helpful. And that brings us to the end of the episode, Jessica. So, first of all, we are honored to host you, and thanks a lot for being here and sharing those thoughts. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So, how do you think that managers can foster a work culture that prioritizes mental health?
Best thing that you can do is create a safe space wherein your employee can come back and tell you that I'm not feeling well or this is off with me.